Hey everyone, welcome back to another review. Today we'll be taking a look at a slightly older figure that is unfortunately no longer in production. It's the Vitae 135 scale Giganotosaurus carolini. For those of you familiar with Vitae, they came onto the scene, I think, late 2017, early 2018. Their first couple figures were made out of resin, but this Giganotosaurus was their first figure that was not made out of resin. I remember when it first came out, a lot of people in the dinosaur collecting community, including myself, were very, very excited for this figure. This figure actually holds a special place for me. This was the first figure I ever wrote a review for the Dinosaur Toy Forum. That's what I started doing before I actually started making videos. So this is quite a special figure to me. Now, unfortunately, Vitae has gone under. There's a whole story on the Dinosaur Toy Forum, what happened to them. So unfortunately, this Giganotosaurus is no longer in production, which is a shame. It's such a good figure. I remember, I think I paid about $80 with shipping on eBay to get this. I checked eBay right before I started doing this review. There's a few on there, but they're really, really expensive. And the other problem is there's a lot of bootlegs of this Giganotosaurus out there, unfortunately. It's very easy to spot the bootleg. It's just this ugly green color, and it's very, very easy to tell the difference between the bootleg and the original model. So like I did with the Cineraptor video, I'm gonna give a little toast to Vitae because they will be missed. They had a lot of cool stuff in the pipeline that will never see the light of day. So I will salute them with this King Sue IPA. And why I got this beer out here, this was brewed for the Field Museum of Natural History in honor of Sue, and I have no idea why they're calling it King Sue. It's, pretty much, accepted that Sue is a female. This should have been called Queen Sue, but whatever, I digress. So let's just jump into this review. So getting back to this beautiful figure right here, there are actually two versions of this Giganotosaurus. This one right here is the standard release, and there was also a limited edition. The differences were there was a different paint scheme on here. It was much more vibrant, has some bright blue patches along it, some battle damage painted on it, and there was a lot more plants and foliage on the base. But other than that, it was pretty much the same exact sculpt. So I'm going to move this figure off to the side for 1 second. When you get this figure shipped to you, it came in a really nice collector's box. As you can see, mine was manhandled by U.S. Customs. I have this big bright green tape around, half the box that goes over this beautiful artwork on the front right here, and the box was really beat up when I got it in. But the good thing is there is a ton of padding in here that the figure was very well protected when it arrives. And you got some info about Carnotaurus on the side. Giganotosaurus on the side right here. You got some pictures of the actual product, and on the side right here you just got Giganotosaurus carolini, and that's pretty much it for the box. As you can see, this figure comes with quite the large display stand, and to display this figure on here, you just lift the figure out. You have these thick metal pegs that plug into the holes on the bottom of the feet right here. They come in a little baggie inside the shipping box. You can see right here there are two footprints with holes, and you just line them up and drop him right in. And I have to say, I absolutely love this display base that came with this Giganotosaurus. I'm going to pop this figure off 1 second and give you a close-up of this base. I absolutely love this base. This might be one of the nicest bases that has come with any, dinosaur figure in my collection. It's made out of almost like a polystone material, so it has some really nice weight to it. But look at all this beautiful water detail on here. It just looks like the edge of a muddy riverbank. You got some actual foliage in here, and it has all this clear coat on here to simulate that wet look. It is just absolutely beautiful looking base. I love it. Look at all the different earth tones along the dry part of the riverbed right here. Just so much detail and sculpting on here. This is definitely my favorite bases ever come with any figure I've ever gotten. And then on the bottom right here, you got the silhouette of the Giganotosaurus. This is like a soft, foam pad on here, so you can slide it around on a flat surface. And then you have this little dead tree that clips in right here just to add to that nice little diorama. Absolutely love this base. Now there's one Little problem with this Giganotosaurus being displayed on this base. It looks absolutely fantastic, and let me focus in on that. The problem is, since the base is not completely flat, if you look at the Giganotosaurus, kind of just like leans a little bit to the left. Because of the material that this figure is made of, it's kind of like a slightly soft rubber material. I had this figure displayed for a long time, and it just kept leaning and leaning. It wasn't too bad. It actually looks a lot better now because I had it displayed in the box with the plastic tray to keep the leg straight. But like near the end, this figure was probably leaning like this. So, you know, that is just one thing you have to worry about with this figure. So before we take a closer look at this figure, let's do a couple quick measurements. This figure, which is a nice size figure, from the tip of the snout to the bend in the tail right here, this figure is just about 16 inches long and just about 6 inches tall to the top of the spikes on the head right there. So Giganotosaurus in real life was about 39 to 43 feet long. So with those measurements, that'll put this figure somewhere in the 130 to 132 scale range. You know, on the box it says it's a 135 scale figure, but this figure is just a little bit too big to scale in your 135 scale collection, if that's the scale you do collect in. All right, let's zoom in and take a look at some of the finer details on this figure, starting with the head. Now, the head shape on this figure is probably the only issue I have with this beautiful figure. Just the shape of the head, it just really does not resemble a Giganotosaurus. It's a little bit just too high and triangular. You know, it should just be a little bit lower and longer, and it'll look much better. But the figure is just so beautifully sculpted and painted. I just kind of overlooked just the shape of the head, but that is definitely my biggest issue with that figure. You can see the eye is painted in red with a black pupil. I just love that striking red eye. It actually has a gloss coat over it to give it that wet look. The jaw is articulated. Now, unfortunately, the mouth does not open much wider than this. I don't want to force it. I feel like I'm going to break it, and it really does not. Well, right now it is, but for the most part on mine, the mouth articulation was pretty loose. Every time I try to close it, the mouth will slowly droop open, but it just seems to have gotten tighter with age. Whenever I can't explain that. But inside the mouth right here, you can see all those teeth are just beautifully sculpted, and they have a nice sharp feel to them. They are made out of a softer rubber material, so you don't have to worry about these teeth snapping off. And even inside the mouth right here, let me just get the camera to focus in on that. You can see the tongue is even textured. It has a nice wash over it to give it some really nice detail. This whole figure is just painted beautifully. It totally justifies around the $80 I paid for this thing. Now, there's a little bit of shrink wrapping on the skull. You can see the inorbital fenestra clearly, and the orbit right here is clearly outlined. But other than that, the whole head is just, and the whole body itself is just painted really, really nice. The whole figure is painted in these nice forest tones of green, and you have some nice cream coloration along the sides of the body right here, and the thighs going all the way down the tail. You got some nice folds and wrinkles along this whole figure. And you know, I did say that this figure is made out of like this softer rubber material, and it causes the figure to lean a little bit on the base. But the other thing is, when you have this figure in your hand, it just kind of gives you that just a little bit of a firmer feel. Like, compare it to the, you know, Kenner Jurassic World toys, just that, I mean, sorry, Jurassic Park toys. It just gives you that real feel, you know, vibe in your hand. I just really, really love that rubber texture when you're running your fingers over this figure. Let's get back to the head right here and just take a little bit more time on it. You can see that bony crest right here is highlighted in orange paint. This figure just has a lot of nice different tones all over. It's just a really, really well painted figure. Let me just, there's the focus right here. You got some nice large scales along the bottom jaw right here. The gum tissue has a couple of different washes over it to give it some definition. Just a beautifully painted figure. I still just love that red eye with the black pupil. Just looks so striking on this figure. You can see the nostrils are sculpted in right here in the front. Just a lot of beautiful scale detail on here. Here's some larger scales sculpted along the base of the neck that go all the way down the top part of the back of this animal, all the way down to the tail. And just look at that beautiful mixes of green and on here. You just have a lot of light and dark greens. It just really, really makes for a nicely painted figure. You have a nice row of orange spikes that stop at the top of the head right here that go all the way down the back to the very tip of the tail. Even the claws on the hand are sculpted nice and sharp looking, you know, because they're made of that rubbery material. They're not pointy at all. This claw right here looks like it's just sculpted. It must have molded a little bit misshapen, but it doesn't look too bad. And right here you can see a little bit of a seam where the arm was inserted. That's really the only seam you're going to see on this figure, is where the forelimbs are inserted in on this figure. And turn the figure over, you can see the whole underside is this off-white color. You have a lot more nice folds and wrinkles all over this figure that go all the way down to the tip of the tail. The legs are nice and muscular. You know, the feet obviously aren't oversized because you have the pegs that hold this figure onto the base, so the feet don't need to be oversized to hold the figure up on its own, because the figure can't really stand on its own. It's going to fall over if you try doing that. And even the toe claws have some nice paint detail on there. You can see some different shading along the claws. Just all around a fantastic painted piece, and it is quite a durable paint job, because my cat knocked this off my display stand a while ago and this thing took a tumble, and there is not one scratch on here. So this softer rubber material definitely, you know, can take a little bit of an impact. Even the base of the tail is nice and thick, has a lot of nice girth to it. And, you know, just looking at it, the tail just seems just a hair long on this figure. I don't know why it just seems a little too long to me for some reason. I don't know, maybe because, you know, some dinosaur figures are just sculpted with shorter tails, but the tail just looks a hair long to me. But other than that, I absolutely love this Giganotosaurus. This figure is just all around a fantastic piece. This is definitely a centerpiece figure in your display. All right, let's move on with some comparison. Here is another figure from Vitae, which I already reviewed. Here it is with the Vitae Sinraptor, and I believe the Sinraptor is in scale with the Giganotosaurus. I think their plan was to have all the figures roughly in that 135 scale range, and here it is, of course, with Tyrannosaurus Rex. Here is the feathered Safari LTD version, and let me just get that out of the way. And here it is with the Rebor Killer Queen, which actually scales quite nicely with this Giganotosaurus. Like if you want a T-Rex, you know, to scale next to this Giganotosaurus, the Rebor Killer Queen, even though it's based off the, you know, Jurassic Park Rexy, is definitely a good size comparison piece. And here it is with some other Giganotosaurs from other companies. Here it is with the Safari LTD Giganotosaurus, which is also mounted on a base, but the difference with this figure is you can't take this figure off the base. And here it is with the PNSO Giganotosaurus, which is definitely one of the more colorful looking Giganotosaurus figures. I don't have it. This one actually displays on the base, but the feet kind of warped on this PNSO model right here. It's one of the issues I have with this figure, and I just haven't reshaped the feet to put it on the base. If I put it on the base, the figure will just keep plopping over like that. And let me just get him out of the way. And here it is with the gorgeous Eofauna Giganotosaurus, which I think is probably the most accurate Giganotosaurus figure on the market. But I just love the coloration and the base and all the cool stuff with this Vitae one. I do love the Eofauna one. Actually, you know, most of the dinosaur, you know, toy companies out there have done a very good job of making very good Giganotosaurus figures. So, final thoughts on this figure right here. If you couldn't tell already, I really like this Giganotosaurus figure. You know, like I said, it holds a special place in my heart because it was the first dinosaur figure I ever reviewed for the Dinosaur Toy blog, and it's just a beautifully sculpted, beautifully painted figure that unfortunately is not being made anymore. Do I recommend you track one down? Yes, it's a really cool figure. The base is absolutely gorgeous on it. I love the water effects on this base. Is definitely a centerpiece figure if you have it displayed in your collection, but the problem is trying to find one like I said, I checked on eBay. There's only a few on there, and they're very expensive right now. And there's also a chance, especially if you're trying to get it through AliExpress, that the figure is going to be a bootleg. And like I said, the bootleg is just an ugly, monotone green color with a couple orange highlights on it. One of the people I follow on Instagram actually got one in, and it's a shame that Vitae's not around anymore. They have some really, really cool stuff in the pipeline that we will probably never see unless the sculptor ends up with another company, which I hope he does, because that Suchomimus I was really, really looking forward to, and I know a lot of other people are looking forward to that one. So if you're gonna go track down this figure, I wish you luck. I hope you end up with an authentic one. And like I said, the only minor issues I have with this figure is the shape of the head is just a little too high and triangular for a Giganotosaurus skull, and that the fact that the figure's made out of this like a little bit of a softer rubber material, so long time displaying on this base will cause the figure to lean a lot over time. But other than that, it's a fantastic figure. I absolutely love this thing. And now that I dug it out for this review, it's probably going to stay on display for another year or two until I run out of room and put it back away. So yeah, definitely, highly recommend this figure. So that will do it for the review. Like I said in my last Collect Day video, I don't have a lot of new stuff coming in lately with all the craziness going on in the world. So I'm going to be doing a lot more reviews on older figures, which I don't mind doing. I like going back and talking about some of these older figures that are near and dear to my heart. And plus, every day we have new collectors coming into our community that have no clue what a Vitae Giganotosaurus is, and they're going to find out about it by watching one of these reviews. So I will be doing a few more reviews on some older figures in the near future. And I actually ordered my first figure from Nanmu. I'm not going to say what it is, but I'm really excited to get it. So hopefully it comes in over from China relatively quickly, and I can do a review on that. It's going to be my first figure from them, and I'm very excited for that one. So as always, if you're enjoying the content on this channel, show your support by hitting that subscription button just below the video. Each subscription helps out the channel tremendously, and it's greatly appreciated. And I'll see you guys for the next one.